I came across this 10 reasons why GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, the AI SEO acronym, is not a thing. And this was written on LinkedIn. It was a hot take. It was a fire take, a fiery take. And it was so good that I sent it to a couple friends and I left it up on my laptop to read to you on the show. It is really good. So I'm going to read these 10 reasons why generative engine optimization is not a thing, because it's a persistent myth now in SEO that it is so different from normal SEO. And then I'm going to share 2 SEO things that work both well for SEO and that work for AI after that. And it's 2 things that I haven't really talked about on the show before. That's what I got for you on this episode. All right. This is from James Carson, who says 10 reasons why GEO, the AI SEO acronym, is not a thing. Number 1, AI overviews account have visibility for just under 12% of Google searches. Actually, I didn't know that. AI overviews have visibility for just under 12% of Google searches. I thought it was a lot more. For me, it feels like a lot more, but still, wow. Number 2, that's pretty big, but it's still Google. Number 3, AI overviews affects long tail, low value informational searches. And I mostly agree with that. AI overviews are 99% triggered by informational searches, and that is a statistic from Ahrefs, who found that out, that AI overviews are 99% triggered by informational searches. They also reduce click-through rate by 34.5%. Again, another statistic from Ahrefs. Number 4, Perplexity is utterly insignificant as a search proposition. Under 30 million monthly users is microscopic, so much so that it has abandoned its ad play. Yeah, that's really not a lot of users. I didn't realize that Perplexity had that few. Number 5, ChatGPT hardly sends any traffic as a percent. It's most commonly well under 2%. Number 6, are you specifically optimizing for Bing? Why not? It sends more traffic than ChatGPT. I did research on this after I read it because I was going to make a TikTok on this. And then I found out that ChatGPT, according to some statistics, but I don't know how reliable these are, ChatGPT has 700 million monthly active users, which is a ton. And Bing only has 500 million monthly active users. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have to look more into that 700 million monthly active user number, because if that's true, that's a ton. Still, from what I've seen, this is from Datos, and I really trust the data that Datos gives. I believe it was AI tools market share is 0.64%, and search engine market share is like 9.5%. It is now 2.5 hours after the original recording, and I was thinking about this more, and I said I wanted to do some more research into it, and I did. And so ChatGPT claims that it has 700 million weekly active users, which is almost 1/10 of the planet using ChatGPT every week, but they don't say what a user is. And then I found another article that's a lot more realistic. It says 180.5 million monthly active users. I trust that number more. Either way, a lot of users, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bing has far more than that. Okay, back to the original recording. I had to share the facts. I'm someone who cares about facts and getting things right. All right, back to the original recording. Anyway, it doesn't matter because I'm going to give you 2 things after this that work really well for AI and SEO. Number 7, visibility is not enough. It's also not very trackable, and it's certainly not good to focus on optimizing to appear in an LLM. And I mostly agree with that, yeah, because it's just way better to focus on SEO things, because SEO things are shared most of the time by LLMs. Number 8, every graph I see on LLM referral, every post or presentation shows minuscule sessions in both absolute and percentage. Social media is way bigger. That's an interesting point. But I mean, lots of people know to focus on social media. If you don't, you should do it. It's also great for SEO. Having a YouTube channel is great for AI SEO and for normal SEO. So it's just great. And yeah. Social media is awesome. I talk about that constantly on the show. Number 9, there is absolutely no difference between SEO and GEO in terms of what you should do to rank/appear. There are some things that work well for GEO, that work well for AI SEO, that don't work as well for normal SEO, but those things will probably continue to get patched. And like, for example, Google is very good at identifying if you update the date published on a page, but you don't actually update the content of the page. Google uses stored versions of the page to discern that. Marketers are using research papers, and they're using research papers to sell products or to put ideas across. And all they're doing is just updating the research paper published date and not actually updating the content of the research paper. And because it's a research paper and research papers are more likely to be trusted, and because ChatGPT and AI tools really like freshness, this is working really, really well for influencing AI tools. But again, this is something that will probably be patched. LLMs don't have the same experience dealing with spam that search engines have. So at the end of the day, what's going to work best are the long-term things that work well for SEO, and then those will also work really well for, if you want to call it AI SEO, that's what we call it. For AI, it'll work really well for AI. And number 10, as far as I can tell, GEO, AIO, etc., etc. is a bubble created by software companies as a new growth area. It's still tiny, and agencies jockeying for relevance. I cannot believe the amount of posts, tools, and talks about LLM tracking. It's bizarre. It all flies rapidly away from the facts. Number 10, what I'll say is I think AI right now is a bubble compared to the dot-com bubble. The internet was huge and is huge. The dot-com bubble, it was this crazy, irrational frenzy funding any new .com that didn't have good value propositions, and a lot of that crashed, and it was brutal. It's not that the internet wasn't big, it's that people were so amped up by .coms that they would just throw money into things that they shouldn't throw money into. And we saw that in 2018 with blockchain. People would add blockchain to their brand names or crypto to their brand names, and then they would get a lot more funding. And we're seeing that now with AI. People are throwing in AI features or adding AI to their brand names and getting more funding. It's the technology hype cycle, and it happens with all sorts of new technologies. It's not that AI isn't huge. Obviously it is. I mean, I use Sora nonstop. Sora is remarkable. Lots of people use ChatGPT, but there are so many AI projects that are getting tons of funding that shouldn't get funding. All right, so 2 things to do for SEO that also influences AI a good amount that I haven't really discussed on this show before. A lot of people talk about how comparison pages, comparing your product to a competing product, do really well for both SEO and for influencing LLMs. But there's a misconception about these comparison pages, and that misconception is you should make them with your blog. And that is not the best way to do it, and that is not a good way to do it at all. In fact, it's a bad way to do it, because when an actual customer of your product goes to your blog, you don't really want them to see comparison pages to competitors. That's just not the type of thing that's going to be the best for readers. Instead, you want them to see updates about your industry, feature updates, new features you're putting in, things that you're excited about, news in your industry. That's better to do for the blog. But how do you make these comparison pages? Where do you put them? What you do is you have a hub folder that's linked to in your footer. It's called alternatives, and it's really well structured. yourdomain.com/alternatives/ the name of your competitor. And then you have pages like your brand versus competitor. And it's a page, and it's an alternative page. And those still do really well in LLMs. It's a comparison page, but it's not in your blog. And it's better for user experience that way. So compare these comparison pages. And when you describe your competitors, link to them and describe them in a neutral way. That is also very important. Describe them in a neutral way. So that is number one. Number one, it's comparison pages with an alternatives hub page, which is also a subfolder, yourdomain.com/alternatives/ competitor name. And if you want to see an example of this, you can go to bitrix24.com, scroll down to the footer, and click on alternatives there. This isn't done the best, but it's still done pretty well, and it's just a nice example of what you can do. It will provide some good inspiration. And the second thing, and this was talked about a lot on yesterday's podcast. Yesterday's podcast was awesome. It was so awesome. I had on these two online reputation management experts, and they talked nonstop about how to get good reviews, good reviews, and what to do with them. And it was one of those episodes that was so good that I was taking notes, and I came away with things that I have to do because these were just such good pieces of advice. But so one thing is send your customers, after they buy your product, send them an email instructing them to leave you a review in places like Reddit or Trustpilot, different review platforms, or Google Business Profile. But the thing about places like Reddit is Reddit reviews are highly, highly surfaced with SEO, as are these comparison pages that I just talked about. Reddit reviews are highly surfaced with SEO, and they are highly, highly surfaced within LLMs like ChatGPT. And that was just such a fire tip. Tell your customers to leave you reviews with different review platforms or different forums that are going to be surfaced with SEO and LLMs. You might be worried about negative reviews, but most of your reviews are actually going to be positive. Most of your reviews will be positive. I believe they said yesterday you could expect like 95% of your reviews to be positive, because the thing is, who actually is most likely to leave reviews nowadays or to say things on these different platforms? It's the people who are angry, and you want to encourage the happy people to leave you reviews, because a lot of happy people, they just don't do it. They're satisfied, but they don't leave reviews. And so you want to encourage people to do that. Anger and disappointment seem to be a bigger motivator for reviews than joy and contentment. So remind customers to leave reviews in these places. And that is everything that I got for you on this episode of the show. This is episode 834 of my daily digital marketing podcast. 834 days in a row doing this podcast. I talk about this alternatives method a lot, with many, many other methods of doing SEO that gets customers in my SEO course, compactkeywords.com. Compact Keywords is a 13.5-hour course about how to do SEO that gets customers, that gets users, that gets warm leads calling you up. And if you are trying to learn SEO yourself and you are focusing, if you're trying to learn SEO yourself, you're probably focusing on a lot of things that don't matter. Compact Keywords is the things that actually matter, so you can save a lot of time. It took me literally years to learn what I teach in Compact Keywords, and it took me a year to make Compact Keywords. So it's a very thorough, very, very thorough course. It's getting great testimonials, which actually I learned from yesterday's podcast. I need to take those testimonials, put them into a YouTube video, because YouTube is ranking so well. And then when people search Compact Keywords reviews, they're going to see this YouTube video of the video testimonials that I get. That's something that I need to do. But those video testimonials are also on the landing page for Compact Keywords. Again, that is at compactkeywords.com. Everybody, if you watched this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. If you listened on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.